Rob, I'm worried. I've done a few videos recently and my viewers are agreeing with me that something very strange is happening. Some sort of neo-Bolshevism that's attacking children, young people, trying to usurp the foundations of Western morality. But I see something worse than that. I actually see a metaphysical rebellion against being and against God himself in these people, in this sneering, hating, raging inability and non-desire to accept what you've been given, who you are, to accept an inability to accept the fruits of love and beauty and truth that our Creator has given to us all. And it's not a new story. It's this story's been going on for thousands of years. Lucifer, Cain, anyone, angry, hatred of being, bitter and angry. And I see these people going around trying to encourage gender-affirming care for under 18-year-olds as if children can choose anything in life. I see it as pure demonic, nasty, anti-God. It's the Antichrist, Rob. That's how I feel.
Right. I don't quite look at it in those type of terms. I think I keep it a bit more simple in terms. I actually think it's about power and control. That's how I look at it, and that certain groups, certain folks are going to take advantage of kids because they feel like if they get the kids, then they have them for life, and that's how I look at it. What's going on with all of this trans business and all of this, I feel like, I'm a person who's, if you're an adult and you want to live a certain way, do your thing. That's how I feel. But the fact that it seems to be that they're going after the children now, and I can speak to this from my own family, what's happening all around us, and it's shocking. I can't. It's hard to believe that cutting off a healthy girl's breasts or a boy's penis is considered health care. We are in an upside down world. It's
affirming healthcare. It's positive healthcare, Rob. It's affirming the under 18-year-old who doesn't have any idea what anything is, what they choose. But another thing that really grinds my gears is when people of the LGBT, mostly T, activists in the ideology talk about safeguarding children against bigots and Nazis. And I'm like, I live in a working class area. All the normal English tradesmen, the plumbers, the electricians, who are just like normal guys. All of a sudden now, the left-wing intellectuals who support this child madness call them Nazis. Why do they... I think we both know, but I'd like to get your view on it. Why did they go on so hard about safeguarding the kids?
Yeah. I actually think it's the opposite. It's the opposite of that. And that's the part that it seems to have come out of nowhere. And I've heard this phrase: things happen gradually, then suddenly.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you can't get away from that word. You can't get away from the word trans now. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. And you see it in the schools. You see these kids. Look, and I think that there's a difference between like LGBT. You have these activists that basically have hijacked what I think was about equal rights, has become something completely different and completely warped. What they're doing with these kids who are so vulnerable. We've seen these studies where these kids that are often suffering from mental illnesses and things like that are being taken advantage. They're in such a vulnerable place, and with social media, and you have all these groups and stuff like that. Now, this is what really is insane to me. You have, for example, you have vulnerable girls that are suffering from, say, anorexia, and they're super thin, and they'll come up to you and go, I'm a big fat pig. And what we would do is we would say, sweetheart, you're not that at all. You're going through a tough time, and we're here to support you and help you get through it and to see the beautiful person that you are. Mm-hmm. And yet, for some reason, with this gender stuff, if a young girl comes up and says, I believe I'm a boy. Well, I would think that you would say, sweetheart, you're not a boy, you're going through a rough time, and we're here to support you and love you. But in our upside down world, they'll say, no, you're not a boy. Excuse me, they'll say, no, you are a boy, and they'll give this girl chest binders and they give them a male name, and now they won't tell the parents. It's shocking, and it's criminal.
It is. It's criminal. And I opened our discussion here bringing religion and metaphysics into it. There's a big story in the Daily Telegraph 2 days ago. The chief rabbi of Great Britain, Jonathan Sacks, or I forget his name, he says because it's a matter of safeguarding, schools should not tell the parents whether the child now identifies as the opposite sex. And I just got visions of the Soviet Union, of Soviet mind control agents, of people being put in the gulag for having the wrong psychology. This sword, this wedge being driven between parents and the child is anti-family. Yeah. And I thought the Jews were all about family. And to get the chief, not some random Jew that you met in Cheetham Hill, the chief rabbi, and he's not the only one. I'm not singling out the Jews.
Listen, the Church of England, what they're doing is shameful. Listen, in my mind, any clergy of any religion that supports this is I don't even have a word for it. That they should be drummed out of their faith, because it's shocking that anybody would say, you don't tell the parents. The parents would be the first line of this is my child. Yeah. And you see what's going on in certain states in America right now, and I think in Scotland too, where they're talking about being able to pull kids away if a parent doesn't go along with this gender affirming care business, that the kid can be removed from their house. What is that?
We've taken the very worst policies of the Soviet Union that we defeated in the Cold War, and we've decided to pump it full of steroids. Pump it full of gender-changing chemicals, hormones, and we're making it policy. And I've made many videos recently. Rob, do you think that if things don't change, you said things change slowly, then they change all of a sudden. Do you think we are at risk of a civil war or a kind of ideological war? I guess all wars are ideological.
Well, I think we're in a cultural war right now. We are definitely in a cultural war, and you see it in the United States.
Yeah.
Because you can see certain states are banning it, are saying this is wrong, this is criminal, we're not having it. Whereas other states are saying, yes, we support this and all of this.
Yes.
And you can definitely see it. And if you are in the camp of I think it's wrong and we shouldn't be, we should let kids be kids, and you're called all the names. Yeah. You're called a transphobe and a homophobe and all of this kind of stuff, and it can be effective because people don't like to be called names. But you realize that they're fraudulent. They're fraudulent, and they're using it because they can. But why can't you just tell a child, look, you are beautiful the way you are. And a lot of these kids will grow out of this, or they'll end up being gay, and or whatever. Yeah. But they're not allowed to do that. If you are, how many kids that we grew up with, that girls that were tomboys, or boys that might like to do certain that were traditionally
girly,
the girl stuff would do. You wouldn't say you're in the wrong sex. Yeah. They might end up being gay, or they'll just go through puberty. Yeah. All of this, but they are taking advantage of that. I'm thankful that when I was young, we didn't have this, because God knows what could have happened to a lot of the people that I grew up with. Maybe, and you see in these detransitioners that they regret, and they throw out this horrible thing saying, would you, if your daughter comes to you and says that she thinks she's a boy, would you rather have a dead daughter or a live son?
I want to punch whoever came up with that. I want to punch them in the face.
It's completely fraudulent.
Sounds like a threat, almost.
Well, and it is, because that's what and you have these parents that will go, gosh, I'd rather have a child that is alive, so I'll do anything. And they're taking advantage of these people. And I think they are using it. it's what I heard. It's called weaponized empathy.
Yes.
Where you are using the kindness of people against them, and we see it all around us. I believe that God made us the way we are, and we're beautiful the way we are, but going through puberty is tough for everybody.
Oh yeah.
But you just let them be, and let them be the person that they are, instead of trying to turn them into something that they're not.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Let me ask you a simple yes/no question. Do you think that the activists of the LGBT have driven acceptance of gays, lesbians, and transgenders backwards or forwards? So it's not a yes/no, but
It's totally backwards, because I'm not taking credit for this. I've heard people talk about this, and that when I guess the gay rights movement was so successful, and that all of the discriminatory things that, like when I was a kid and stuff like that, they're all gone.
Yeah.
You have gay marriage, you have all of these kind of things that should have ended the movement.
Yeah.
And yet now it's been hijacked to something else, into something else, and you see a backlash. You see people, at least I see it in America, saying all this pride business, the Pride Month and all of that. You see people going, enough already, stop your throat. It's not enough to say, yes, I believe in equal rights. Not only now, you see people, you have to celebrate this stuff. It's not enough to say, we're all the same. Now you have to, if you don't bow down to it, then you're the haters and all of that kind of stuff. And it's a shame, because it's now, I agree with you that I think there is a backlash, and it's going to go further than leave the kids alone. But going after the kids is a step too far, and a lot of people who kept quiet are no longer going to keep quiet, and you're going to see that. So that's where we are.
Rob, now that we're out in the big bad world, we're here opposite the Midland Hotel in St. Peter's Square. Central Library behind us, very nice building.
It's one of my favorites. I love this building. This square is what makes Manchester so great.
Yeah. Does the safeguarding of children who may be gay or confused, does their safeguarding trump our rights to free speech to discuss about it in a negative way if we disagree with it?
Well, I mean, what's your thought on that before I pipe in?
Well, I, as a British person, subject of the King, I am actually jealous of your Constitution and your Declaration of Independence. I sometimes watch videos from America, and the free speech, whether positive or negative, I go, wow, amazing. The things the police will allow you to say at a rally in America, I get jealous. So I think because of my jealousy, I wish I had more free speech.
Well, I know that the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that there's no such thing as hate speech.
Really?
Yeah.
I wish they'd tell the Brits about that, because to even like dead name, and if you don't know what dead naming is, it's when you use a person who claims to have changed sex or gender, when you use their former name when they were the other gender. So even that dead naming could get you in trouble in Great Britain. So even in America, I could go up to Elliot Page and say, "Sister Ellen, you were amazing as a pregnant teenage girl in the film Juno. Wow, you portrayed it right." Whereas here in Britain, I could probably get into some problem with the thought control police, with the Ministry of Truth.
Yes.
They might have something to say about it. But I've not personally been banned or had any trouble. I've been banned off TikTok for warning young children against people who are ideologically driven in terms of this sort of thing. But YouTube so far has not shut me down. But Jordan Peterson had a video recently shut down, not for a privacy complaint, not for making anyone uncomfortable. He had a community guideline strike for hateful conduct. So he got a Canadian intellectual being banned by a California American company for hate. But you're telling me that there is no such thing as hate speech in America?
Well, the United States, so obviously we have our First Amendment and everything. However, what you see abuses, in my mind, you see abuses of that you've got, and I guess this is part of the beauty of the United States, and I talked a little bit about that earlier, that people can vote with their feet.
Yeah.
And you see people doing that, moving from, leaving California because they don't like the way that it's being run, and then going to Florida and things like that. But it's now in the United States also that you say things that are considered hateful, even if it's not against the law. You still see them trying to stop it. And I think the answer to speech that you don't like is more speech.
Yes.
It's not less speech, because when you try and stifle speech, that's when you get in. That's when things turn really ugly.
You know what? Like, you're absolutely right. This is why on Twitter, online, at these rallies, the ideologues, the gender ideologues, are very much into slogans and statements, because not so much into conversation, because they have to say trans women are real women, trans women are real women, trans women are real, because there's no argument against that. There's no discussion with it.
Yeah, what nonsense that is. Trans women are women. I can't believe anybody actually really sincerely in their heart believes that, because they're not. Truth is truth with a capital T. Biology is biology, and you can dress up how you like and all of that, but that does not make a man dressing up as a woman, putting on lipstick, does not make him a woman. And live your life, but it doesn't change fact. We have XX and XY chromosomes, and thinking that you're the opposite gender does not mean anything. And the fact that having men in women's sports, what's that about? Why are some women supporting that?
Yeah.
If you had a daughter that was running and that was beaten by a man in a dress or whatever, as a dad, I'd be furious.
Absolutely furious. Like, it's ridiculous. And a lot of these ideologues, they think that they've invented the gender war. They think that there's this like modern spawning of transgender children. But you remember being an adolescent or a kid, there were transsexuals.
It was a long time ago, Charlie.
That was a long time ago. But I remember transgenders, transsexuals, transvestites, homosexuals, lesbians, and they were tolerated. People didn't care where you stuck your pee-pee. It wasn't anyone's business. But now going after the children, there's a very noisy lorry here, so I'll fix this in post. It's okay, the camera's pointing at us.
How polite.
Polite or narcissistically self-obsessed.
Oh, no, come on.
Okay.
You like to cut people slack.
I've become...
I always trying to look at the best of every person, but before that's always my way, is trying to look at the best of everyone. And that's the same thing with this thing. I want to believe in the best, but I feel like we're absolutely seeing the worst, and we're seeing our society turning into something else that where, like I said, where truth doesn't matter. And I heard this. It's the sky is green theory. The sky is green.
I've not heard that one.
The sky is green. That if you keep telling people long enough and as many times that the sky is not blue, the sky is green. The sky is green, and you keep saying it over and over and over, at some point people will start taking it in because it's exhausting. Even though they know in their hearts that the sky is blue, they'll start saying, yes, the sky is green, because it gets exhausting. And at some point, they actually start believing it. And I believe that that's what's going on here right now, that if he keeps saying it over and over and over, you wear these kind people down, and they know in their hearts that it's not true. Mm-hmm. Like this pronoun business that's going on right now, where you can pick your pronouns and stuff like that. People are just trying to be polite. They'll say, okay, well, whatever they. I mean, when is one person a they? That doesn't exist, and all of this makeup.
Yeah, they're plural people. I am 7 people in one.
And I know personally people that do it to get along, and behind it, and I'll say something like, roll my eyes, and they'll do the same darn thing, but they go along with it. And those days, for me, I tell you, are over.
Yeah, I think, in order to remain human, you have to take sides now. When we're literally at the stage where prominent political, religious leaders, business leaders are telling schools to hide... Government telling schools to hide stuff
political
from the parents.
Parties,
when they're literally thinking that mutilating children under 18s is okay because it's care, it's positive. They use the word affirming.
Yeah.
Affirming sounds very affirmative. It sounds very positive,
Of
Rob.
course, these euphemisms they use, that's how they capture you. And I had mentioned this to you earlier off camera.
Yeah.
I have a relative, a cousin of mine who I dearly love, who lives in California, and she has a daughter. And her daughter was going to a very nice school. And unbeknownst to my cousin, her daughter was given a chest binder, was given a male name.
How old?
I want to say, she told me, I want to say 12, 13, somewhere in there. They didn't know a thing. And when they found out about it, they were horrified. And my cousin is very liberal. She's not some right-wing lunatic. She's very, very liberal. And they were shocked by it. They were shocked and did not know what to do.
Without any prompting or psychological checking or any, they just
Kept it completely from the parents.
secret. It's almost like a bunch of mutants, happy, like, oh, we got a potential person that could be messed up like us. Let's instantly chop them, mutilate them, bind the breast, chop off the breast, start on the hormone therapy. And another thing that really grinds my gears, and you're a lot more tolerant, I think, than I am. I'm ready to go to war, civil war, underground movements, French resistance. I'm going to start blowing up ideological trains in Minecraft, not in the real world. Another thing that gets me enraged, Rob, and my blood is boiling. Like I feel the rage of 1,000 of my ancestors who either won in battle or died in battle after having
That's right.
produced.
You've got the Scots and Braveheart and all
Yeah,
that.
but when I see these activists say that I am a cruel person for being against giving, first of all, can children consent to medication, any medication? Can an under 18 consent to medication?
No, it's parents' responsibility for the care of their children, and that's the part I don't understand, where they're trying to keep this from the parents, like I said, and they use this emotional blackmail to get to the kids, because they use this line to the parents. They say, if you have say a daughter who's going through a tough time, and she thinks that she might be a boy, and she's getting all of this through in her school, saying maybe you are a boy, maybe you aren't. They're not telling the parents. And once the parents find out and are horrified, and they'll say, would you rather have an alive son or a dead daughter? What? I know, that is criminal what they're doing.
It's a threat. It's a threat. Do you want an alive daughter or a dead son?
And it's fake. It's patently not true.
And it's on the same level of demonic hatred of being as saying, oh, unless we start hormone treatment for your 10-year-old, they're going to go through puberty in the wrong sex, and then you're the bigot for letting your child go through the so all we want to do, Rob, is just let nature, let the universe play out, and they're the ones wanting to interject and change and mutilate and bind and stop. Yet we're the bigots for wanting nature to carry on, for accepting reality, accepting that the sun sets, the earth goes around the sun. We're the bad people, Rob. And this is like, how did they get governments, states, governors, schools, universities?
They've all been captured.
Rob, you're a dinosaur. You were an adolescent back in the 60s. I'm only joking, but is it a failure of Marxist ideology in the 60s, which now they've decided to go after the penis and vagina?
It's taken 50 years to get where we are. That's the thing. They're very patient. It's the long march just through the institutions. You see it's been captured in education. You see it's been captured in the media. You see it's been captured in Hollywood. You see all of those things, and people, the kindness of people have given them the advantage. Oh, Charlie, I think they're coming.
Oh, they're coming for me. Sorry, free speech criminal.
You know you're not sorry.
But do you think there is a correlation between the humility and the acceptance and the tolerance of Christian nations? Because it seems to be worse in Christian nations.
It's the West.
The West. Christian,
basically, it's
the
the
West.
English-speaking West
who
have been made to feel guilty for everything.
But do you think that deep down in the kind of average normal person's psyche in the West, they feel that, oh, I don't want to be responsible for crucifying Christ again. I better be tolerant about everything. Well, do you think there's an element of that?
It could be. It could be. I honestly do believe it's taking advantage of people's good nature.
What was it? What was that phrase? The weaponization of
weaponized empathy.
Weaponized empathy. I like that.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
And parents are busy, they have jobs, they want to get their kids educated, they want to feed them and all this. They don't have time to know everything that's going on. And it's so important that parents talk to their kids. What did you learn in school today? What did you do in school today? And if it's anything other than, learning about history and math and English and all of that kind of stuff, and they're saying that they learned about gender theory, all this kind of stuff, that should be a big red flag, and you need to go to the school and tell them that's not acceptable.
No, of course. And I'll be careful how I word this because I don't want to get banned off YouTube. But I sense there's a bit too much. There's too many people wanting to speak to children. Drag queen, story hour. There's indoctrination of gender theory in schools. Why don't they? But I know the answer. It's because if you control the children, you control the future. Because children obviously will grow up to be adults.
Why don't drag queens perform in old folks' homes? If you want to have a story hour, go to the old folks' homes. Those people are dying for company and all of that. I bet they would be happy to have them. So let's do that. I tell you what, let's switch drag queen story hour for kids and make it stripper story hour for kids. Let's see how acceptable that would be. And again, I'm not drag queens. That's fine. But it's adult entertainment. It's not made for kids, and you can dress it up any way you want to dress it down. And drag queen is adult. It's adult.
It's sexualized, erotic adult entertainment.
And again, if you're an adult and that's what you want to do, that's great. Yeah. That's fine. Yeah. But going after the kids and stuff and trying to dress it down, we know that it's not. And if you're okay with stripper story hour, then you can have your drag queen.
Yeah, well, as I'm not a bigot, I'm going to have enforced high detailed, high definition gender surgery hour for the children in school, where we show them a massive screen of a transgender surgery, and we need to encourage children to want that to happen. Anyway, YouTube, I'm being sarcastic. Don't do community guideline for hatred, but I just want to wrap things up and say, Rob, you are known on my channel as the American. You always come on with rational, normal, and it's not like rational, like intellectual. You're just hello. You're just a normal guy speaking as a dad, as a man living in the West, as someone that's seeing what's happening. And I just want to say thank you again for your time, Rob.
Well, listen, Charlie, it's good to meet up with you again, and we're still in Manchester, still loving this great city, still happy as can be, and just I believe in truth with a capital T.
Yeah.
And I want to live in truth. I want the children to live in truth, and that's what's important to me. Because people will say to me, "Well, why do you care so much? How does it affect you if somebody's, if somebody changes their gender? How does it affect you?" And it's because I believe in truth.
Yeah.
And you can lie and pretend. But that's what you're doing. You can put a man in a dress. He's still a man.